and welcome to Brewing Brilliance, a podcast where we talk to academics from across the university who are involved with the Healthy Ageing and Chronic Conditions Research Institute. We will be speaking to researchers who are leading innovative interdisciplinary approaches to promote lifelong health, delivering improved interventions to manage chronic conditions more efficiently. These sessions are essentially opportunities for us within the Healthy Ageing and Chronic Conditions Research Institute to meet colleagues from across and beyond our faculty to foster knowledge sharing, collaboration and networking. My name is Adrienne Cleverly, and today we are joined by Dr. Denise Hill and Helen John from Ospreys in the Community. Helen John is the Foundation Manager at Ospreys in the Community, leading on all equality, diversity and inclusion programmes. Her background is in sports development and she has previously led physical literacy and engagement programmes to increase participation levels in young people. Sporting Memories is one of the programmes she leads. Others include Walking Rugby Healthy Lifestyles, Schools Mental Health Project and All Women and Girls initiatives. Dr. Denise Hill is an Associate Professor of Applied Sports Psychology at Swansea University, a BPS Chartered Psychologist and a HCPC Registered Practitioner Psychologist. She is also a Fellow of the British Association of Sport and Exercise Sciences. She has taught applied sport and exercise psychology across both undergraduate and postgraduate programmes for over 20 years and supervised numerous PhDs in this subject area to completion. More recently, she has started to apply her expertise outside sport. That includes the business, health and the care sectors. Welcome both and thank you for joining us. So, Helen, can I start by asking you to tell everyone what Sporting Memories is?
Okay, so Sporting Memories is a national project that runs across the UK, working with people who are living with dementia, who maybe are living with a little bit of loneliness or depression. Ospreys in the Community, which is the official charity of Ospreys Rugby, got involved about 5.5 years ago, and we got some funding from the Health Board to be able to deliver our own Sporting Memories sessions within the region. So targeting the same people who are living with things such as dementia and basically anyone over the age of 55 in the community who might be struggling with a little bit of loneliness. So we picked local rugby clubs, local sports clubs to host Sporting Memories sessions. The theory being that gentlemen, maybe not so much females, but gentlemen who are living with such issues would be more likely to go there to look for help if they felt uncomfortable going to the GP or their district nurse or whatever. So we've got 7 sessions at the moment running in community clubs. We host 2 hours a week where we focus on things like reminiscing about sport people might have watched, teams they might have supported, and we always base all our sessions on something that's happening in the local, national, international sporting calendars at the moment. So keeping things real in the sporting world and using sport to engage people with a basis of getting them socially engaged, but sport is always like the tool, and we use the power of sport to get people into the environment. And once we've got them engaged, we reminisce, we have quizzes, we play fun games, we have a physical activity to get people moving and keep them active, whereas they might be sat in the house for the rest of the week. But we then get additional organisations in to support them. We've worked with organisations like Age Cymru West Glamorgan, the Alzheimer's Society, the Dementia Hub in Swansea City Centre. They bring the expert advice. We just provide the environment for people who are living with the issues I've mentioned to engage and find support. And as much as this is a Sporting Memory session, the project I feel has kind of moved forward so much that it's more than Sporting Memories to people. It's their support networks, it's their friendship groups, it's how they get by, it's how they get advice. And we are working with people who are living with really difficult circumstances, and I say to the team all the time, we cannot change what they're living with, but for those 2 hours a week that we're with them, we can have an impact on their lives. We can have an impact on the support they've got, and we can make a difference so they've got something to focus on for the week ahead till they see us again. So in a nutshell, that's what we do. It's grown bigger than I ever imagined it would 5.5 years ago. The first group we hosted in Dunvant, 6 people came through the door on the first week, and for the last 6 months, I think we've engaged with over 200 people. So to get to where we are now from where we were over a period of 5 years has been incredible, but I want to see it grow more.
So you've touched a bit there on the importance and the impact you want to have. Can I just ask a simple question? But is that how research has become involved with this?
Yeah, I mean, we were honoured really to be invited in by Ospreys in the community and Helen to complete an evaluation of Sporting Memories, because they wanted to know really whether or how Sporting Memories was impacting the attendees, those living with dementia. And achieving their goal really of trying to impact, well-being, physical activity, social connectivity. And so with the health board and health partnerships support, a PhD was funded, which was lovely, delivered by yourself, and supervised by myself, and supported by Helen. And in we went. And yeah, it's been an amazing project. It's coming to its end now. So in that first year, yourself, got embedded within those clubs, delivered some of the sessions as well, managed to connect with those living with dementia, the members, and their partners and their carers, and the staff and stakeholders to really understand the power of Sporting Memories. And it was obvious from day one the power was intense. It's a transformational programme. The words that we hear from the attendees and the members is that it's life-changing and life-saving. And as Helen said, it's not going to take away, unfortunately, the dementia, but it does allow an increased quality of life during this period, not just for those living with dementia, but also the carers. So that was the first stage of the programme, really, was to establish, whether and how the Sporting Memories has been impactful, and that was ticked. It is impactful. And then the next stage was to see whether there was any way in which it could be improved even further so that impact could be greater and more general. And from that first study, it was clear that it was the reminiscence therapy that was really affecting individuals' well-being in that room. And the use of sport as that umbrella to connect people was super important as well. And then one or two other things that would added and changed and developed. But what was really interesting was the staffing and the carers, because in terms of sustainability and having maximum impact over, a long period of time, so it's longevity, it was really important to take care of the staff, because what we found was that, the staff were having emotional labour and a little bit of burnout, because obviously they were up and they were performing ultimately week in, week out in a really difficult space. They were making lovely relationships with so many members that unfortunately would pass away. And so it was having an impact, and it's very difficult then for them to continue. So I think one of the, among many, one of the most important features of the work was to understand how we can support the staff more, but then also how to support the carers more, because they were demonstrating signs of fatigue, carer fatigue. And, it's devastating, isn't it, to goes without saying, because so many people live it and understand this. It is devastating to watch someone that you love deteriorate by this cruel disease. And that to me was another aspect of this story, of this piece, was the fact that Sporting Memory wasn't just affecting those living with dementia, but it was having a huge important effect on those carers, and they were forming their own social network and their own support. And the work has then enabled us to understand how to support those people more as well. So it suddenly this programme, in terms of just looking at the impact, suddenly exploded into how we can support every individual contributing in the most appropriate way, so that this Sporting Memories can be impactful but also sustainable. And that's where we are now. So it's just an amazing project, and I'm so honoured to be a very small part of the Sporting Memories journey.
So much to take out of that. There's so many questions, but one of the things I'd like to ask you is, like, Denise talked a little bit about how it opened up. With the project, has the research delivered what you thought it would, or has it given you what you hoped it would give you?
Yeah, so when the idea first came about, I knew that there was a lot of really, some of what people were telling me was really impactful. But as deliverers, I had no idea how we should collate this, record it. So we had the conversation. And then obviously, Adrienne, you joined the team, which for me has been a real blessing, because if you look at the project now compared to where we started, there's far more structure to it. I knew that we should be delivering a reminiscence and talking to our members, but we can now enforce on the staff, because of what the research tells us is that reminiscence is vital. That is vital to what makes our project far, far more than a coffee morning. What I want people to see is if they walk into a club, there's no stigma. Nobody knows anyone in that room is living with dementia. When they come in, they don't have to say, my partner's living with dementia. That comes out naturally, but they come to a really relaxed, warm, friendly environment that they can sit and feel safe and talk and make friendships. But everything we do has a purpose. Everything we do, there's basis behind it, because what you found out, what you're telling me, and from the very start, I kind of knew what we should be doing, but now there's more backup to say, yeah, you're right, this is what we should be doing, because this is the importance the reminiscence has. This is the importance for us to have a sensory box. So there's things for people to play with or touch, or that can keep them engaged. So then their carer can still have 2 hours of respite while the session is going on. That's why we've got a hearing loop system now, because people were missing out because they couldn't engage. And from the start, I probably thought we need to cover all these things, but until you're speaking to our members and their carers, and they're saying, we're not going to come anymore because my mum can't hear. I'm not going to come anymore because my partner gets agitated and I feel embarrassed. Okay, then what can we give him or her to engage them for 2 hours? And sometimes this is as easy as we give them a whiteboard and pen, and they just sit there and they doodle away, and then that gentleman's wife then can, or husband, whatever, can sit there and still be part of Sporting Memories. So everything we do is inclusive to ensure that we consider what everybody needs to continue to be a part of what I think is an incredibly powerful programme.
Do you know what amazed me about it, though, is that we knew it was impactful, but there's no way you could capture the impact in a 50-minute chat here, because just when you were talking then, Helen, I was thinking about, the understanding that you mentioned the word respite. There's often an assumption that the carer, when they need respite, would stay at home, or they would do something, and then their partner who is living with dementia would go elsewhere or be supported elsewhere. And do you know what? The one big thing about this project was that there was a definite theme that actually, no, we want to be together.
Yeah,
that's. We are married, we love each other, we want to share experiences, and reminiscence in particular, or Sporting Memories anyway, as a whole experience, enables us to connect and in many cases reconnect.
Yeah.
Because this awful disease has just separated them somewhat, and this brings them back together in a way that they may not have experienced for a while. And it is that, that shared experience again, that shared identity and that connectivity that has come across so powerfully that it's not recognised often in the way that this area is managed in terms of respite and what that means.
Yeah.
Often means separation, but no, respite actually in its most powerful form is that reconnection, and then being active with each other, because what brings them together is this sport.
Yeah.
And that's often their past was that they
really
watched sport or played sport or can talk about sport. And, that cannot be understated. It really is powerful.
When we have members wanting to join us, you have the conversation and they say, oh, do I stay? And I'll say, well, you're very welcome to stay as long as your partner is able to use the bathroom on their own. You don't have to stay, but I'd advise you to stay the first week. And once they've stayed the first week, then they're like, oh no, we'll stay together for the reasons you've spoken about. And sadly, because of, the demographic we're working with, often we have to deal with loss or people going into care. And one thing I never thought would happen is we have a lot of people returning after their pet partners have sadly passed away. And some of the things they have said to us then is, I had got a little bit back of my partner when we were here, because we were reminiscing, because we were talking about holidays we went on, or football matches we went to, or games we watched, or watching the Six Nations on the TV. I'd lost that, but when we were reminiscing, I got a bit of that back. And, they've come back to memories then because they felt safe and they felt comfortable there. So we have a lot of carers now who join us, even though their partner still can't come. And I think that's really special.
That says it all, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Do you think that's part of what makes this project and the research attached to this project unique?
Well, I'd like to say so. I'm going to say so. Sporting Memories, as Helen says, is a national programme, but actually, I'm allowed to say it, Ospreys and Community deliver it in a very unique way. And I would say are the innovators of this area. And so the next stage of the project is to now disseminate, best practice from Ospreys and Community and what Helen is delivering and what we now understand from your programme of work of, again, we can't really go into too much detail in such a small space, but as Helen's alluded to, your programme of work with Helen has enabled us to be very specific in terms of what a scheduled programme looks like in terms of Sport and Memories, what each week out should look like, how every task and activity should be delivered, how staff should be supported and trained, and then managed thereafter, how carers with the use of external agencies can come in and support. All of this now, we have a very clear programme and way of working. And that's, so while Sport and Memories as the UK product is there, Ospreys and Community have taken it and gone up exponentially through an evidence-based way. So I would say it is unique in the way that the Sport and Memories programme is delivered in the Ospreys in the community, and therefore is optimal, is maximal impact, and that's what we're after.
And do you think the partnership has made that possible? Because obviously this is the first partnership conversation we've had. So do you think the partnership?
I think it's been outstanding. And one thing with the project is I always try to ensure that we get the right people in the room, the right staff in the room, to be able to be compassionate and show empathy and be understanding and make no judgments. And then when this partnership was started, I wanted to ensure that, again, we had the right person in the room, and 100% we have, because I don't feel like there's two different organisations in the room when you're there with us. You're part of our team. You're a really important part of our team, and members look for you now. They want to talk to you. They trust you. There's so much sadness that goes with the programme that they have to. That's what you've brought to the team. You're an extra member of staff. So even though we're two organisations working together, I feel like it's worked brilliantly from our side of things anyway.
Yeah, that's
good. Perfect.
On that note, before I go pink, I'm going to say thank you very much for joining us today. If you would like to find out more about Sport and Memories and the research that's going in alongside that, you can visit Helen at Ospreys in the Community or Denise Hill on the Swansea University website. That's all from us today. If you have enjoyed and would like to find out more about this podcast and the research, please follow us at Swansea University. We are under the Medicine, Health and Life Science Research Institute, and we are the Healthy Ageing and Chronic Conditions Research Institute. Thank you.